Hi, y'all. You're listening to the Chicken Fried Women podcast with me, your host, Melissa Radke, the original recipe. Welcome to the Chicken Fried Women podcast, where the mouth, that's me,
Chicken.
My guest, it's where the mouth meets the south, is what I was going to say, and my guest won't hush. And y'all know who it is. It's Aunt Melba. She's back, okay? Is she back and better than ever? No. She's not back and better than ever because she wasn't really great to begin with. Okay. This is Aunt Melba. Y'all loved her the first time. Here she is again. I honestly expect that my chicken fried women, will be on here quite a lot. So welcome back.
Nice to be back.
I'm glad you're here. I literally wanted to ask more questions about the last time you were on, but my stomach couldn't handle it. If you haven't listened to that episode, then you don't know what I'm talking about. Go back and listen to it.
I know y'all hate me after this.
No, I want to hear another hilarious story that has come, because you are legendary in our family. So what's another one you got for me?
Well, the funniest things Annette and I ever did, we grew up singing with my dad in a Southern gospel church kind of atmosphere.
Give me a song right now.
I don't sing anymore.
I'll be my mother.
When Jesus breaks.
When Jesus breaks the morning.
What a day to be.
When Mother was here and I said, give me a song, she broke out the same song.
No, she did
Yes,
not.
she did. Yes, she is. She went just like this. She went, when Jesus breaks. And I went, when Jesus breaks the morning. What? The exact same song. Now that is weird. I was going to do, there was a fourth man walking in the midst of the fire. Yeah. Behold, he has freed the Hebrew three, and he still walks where freedom and never tried.
And she did her.
Oh, I see Shadrach walking. Okay.
She did her shoulders just
Yes,
like
she
that while she
did.
would sing. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, y'all sang together.
Yes. And we sang at church. We had a church program on television, KTRE TV, called Sounds of Inspiration.
Dear gosh. Sounds of Inspiration.
We called it Sounds of Desperation sometimes. And then we went around singing at civic events and Lions Club and Booster Club and things like that, retirement parties, things in the community. But our favorite was funerals. Y'all,
There had to be a better way to say that.
We could not hold our composure at funerals. We
Really?
just always loved
Going to a funeral.
funerals.
Okay, but hold on, because before you get there, I want to ask you something. And those of you who are listening and watching, did you know this?
I know what you're going to ask about the music room in a funeral home.
Melba, that's the weirdest thing.
No, it's wonderful because when you had a difficult one,
Okay, so nowadays, I don't know how many funerals there are. We have a lot of funerals at church, and not as many in a funeral home. But back in the day, they used to always be in a funeral home. And when I grew up, and the first funeral I ever went with the women, and I had to sing too with them, there is a special room for the singers. And it feels very weird to me because you go in that room and you sing, and the people in the funeral room can hear you, but they can't see you.
Are you surprised that I figured out that's what you were going to ask?
I think it's very weird that you knew what I was going to ask.
Sometimes you could see it because some of the funeral homes had this black, meshy looking stuff. So you could see out it like a screen on a window. Mm-hmm. You could see out it to see the people, but they couldn't see in. It was some kind of special. So sometimes you could see out, but it just helped to get through if it was a difficult one, like you were friends. And most of them, we were friends.
Yeah. That's so weird to me. It was always kind of spooky to me. I don't know why.
But see, because of that, if you got tickled in the music room, I mean.
It was okay, I guess.
It was okay, but you couldn't cover the sound. And, oh my gosh, we just had some.
Was it only when y'all were singing, or would you say, oh no, when we were just attending a funeral?
When we were just attending, if we were sitting, because we would always go in and sit on the back row after we sang.
Oh, okay.
From the music room, because you don't want to sit in the music room the whole time.
Okay.
sometimes we'd stay in the music room if we didn't know the people very well, but we would go sit in the back row and they would just leave that open, because they'd push people to move up. And so we would sit back there and my daddy's stomach would growl and we could not control our laughter. But I was going to tell you what I read on a funeral home, small town funeral home in Texas. We were driving through and they had a sign out front, the kind with the arrow and the pointed lights. I mean, it wasn't a
like
fancy,
fireworks here.
Fireworks here. It was that kind of sign because it was a small little funeral home, but it said funerals are our specialty. And so I thought about that. That's real good for us. Funerals are our specialty, but we had some hilarious stories about funerals, but this one isn't one we sang at. The first one I want to tell you about was we went to a funeral.
Oh, gosh.
And we probably did sing at it. I don't remember whose it was, though. But we were going to the funeral home, to the cemetery, and it was out at, the funeral was in town, but the cemetery was out at across from Central at Oak Glen.
Oh, yeah.
Baptist. Some of our relatives, and this was a relative, but I can't remember which one. We have a lot of relatives. But we were going
we have a lot of relatives and we wouldn't go to all of their funerals. That's for sure. But anyway.
Well, and this one wasn't a real close one because Annette she called us and said, we're going, or called us when we were leaving the funeral, because I don't think we had cell phones then. But she said, hey, we're going to go to Chili's and eat. So we went, we weren't going to go to the cemetery.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm following you now.
So we were going to go to Chili's.
The funeral was over and y'all were going to eat.
Yeah. So we were going to meet them there. Well, Donald always got confused.
Her husband, Donald.
And he got into the line with the cars going to the funeral home, to the cemetery.
The long line.
You turn on the lights.
Oh, no.
And we were in the line. I said, Donald, you're in the line that goes to the cemetery. How are you going to get off on the feeder road to go to Chili's? And he said, oh, it'll be okay. I'm going to turn my lights off and they'll think somebody got in that wasn't part of the funeral and they'll go on and follow the funeral.
No. Oh, gosh, no.
They followed us all to Chili's.
Melba, no.
Yeah.
So the hearse keeps going straight.
So the hearse keeps going straight under the overpass. We go off on the exit to go to Chili's. And I said, Donald, they're following us. And see, they didn't know after the first car. They just followed because they all had their lights on. They followed us to Chili's. So I said, if you pull in there, I'm going to kill you, Dad. We were dying laughing. I said, you have got to go on across the feeder road and come down. He had to cross the feeder road and wait at the light and then go down the other side to get, and we had to go out to the cemetery.
Because all the cars
were following us.
Oh my gosh. I wonder what the poor old man in the hearse, when he looked back, where did everybody go? They were all just making a circle. Oh my God.
Well, some were behind him because we were like in the middle. I don't know how Donald would always end up in the wrong line, but it was kind of hard at funerals, but that's what we did. We took the whole group to Chili's. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to know about the time that, well, I'm sure you have other funeral stories to tell. You can get to any of them.
This one's about your mother.
Oh, the one I was going to say is, please tell it, about Granny.
It was at Granny's.
No, about Granny showing up and she had something on her dress. And she said she'd eaten an exploding taco.
Oh.
That was at a funeral?
Yeah. Mama always called them tacos.
Tacos.
And she
had gone and gotten
a taco,
but right before she got to the funeral, and she was driving my daddy's Volvo.
Mom had trouble with English language.
Trouble with words. And my dad had a Volvo. And she said,
and she would tell everybody at church, I'm driving Jean's Volvo.
Yeah, so she got there and she said, my mother looked at my granny and said, Mother, what is all over your shirt? And she said, I was eating a taco and it was an exploding taco. And she said, how did you even get to Taco Bell? And she said, I drove Jean's Volvo. I remember that one for sure. Hey, did you know that the Chicken Fried Women podcast is being brought to you by my new book, Chicken Fried Women, coming out April 22nd? I have a question for you. Have you pre-ordered it yet? Go to Amazon.com or wherever you buy books and order one for you and your bestie and your mom and your college roommate. You get what I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Well, this one was on your mother, and I do need to tell it. We went to my grandma's funeral. This was my granny from Dallas.
Granny Betty?
Granny Betty.
Okay.
So we were going to her funeral. I mean, we were part of the family, of course. And sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
And we were going to the funeral, and we didn't sing in it or anything because it was family. She had music played. And we got out of the car, and we were in our car, and they were in their car. We walked up behind, Donald and I, behind Annette and Jean. And I was looking at Annette, and I said, Annette, why are your bust darts on the back of your dress?
What does that mean?
Well, in the day, there were little darts at the bust of a shift, a straight dress.
Oh, yeah.
Straight.
Just kind of give your boobs room, maybe?
To give them, I think to give them poke.
Why did they quit doing that? Okay, anyway.
But hers were perking out the back. I said, Annette, you have your dress on backwards.
Oh.
She had already gone to the funeral. We were walking up to the graveside. She had to get behind a car. We were dying laughing.
Oh, my gosh.
She had to get behind a car and turn her dress around, which was a straight dress, and turn it around because she had it on backwards and didn't know it.
I would have said, was this recently? But maybe like she said, was she 70 when this happened? But no.
No, she wasn't. She was probably 50.
Oh.
So then we're walking again, and we were laughing our heads off, all four of us standing behind the car, turning her dress around. And Donald looked down at Jean, and his hem was out of the bottom of his suit pants on one side. The hem was out. And your daddy, and what a fanatic.
My dad is a dresser.
He is a clothes horse.
Yeah, and he always, by the way, pays very close attention to what my mother's wearing.
Yeah.
So how did he not notice this?
He didn't notice it. It was a navy blue dress, so it was very solid, and I just saw the bust darts in the back. But Donald says, Jean, your hem is out in your pants. And he said, oh my gosh. He said, what in the world? And they were out almost all the way around. And we had nothing. We had no bobby pins or any paper clips.
First of all, how would you use a bobby pin? Well, I guess you could.
You could.
Yeah.
If you were at a funeral and we didn't have anything, we were dying laughing because Annette was turning her dress around and we were telling him. So he goes back to the car. We go back to the car with him. And he's looking, all he can find are Barbie Band-Aids. So you got to tease him about him in his pants at Granny's funeral with a Barbie Band-Aid.
With Barbie Band-Aids
all around him.
That is hysterical. That is so funny.
We laughed so hard at all of our funeral stuff.
Okay, but did y'all ever sing and get tickled while singing?
Oh, 1,000 times.
What would you do?
Well, you just had to get through it. You just had to keep going. Oh, we would laugh so hard back there in that funeral, that music room. Sometime. I mean, we didn't do that at every funeral.
When I think, I'm looking at David Radke, when I think of singing and laughing, you know exactly what story I'm about to share. It was at one of those, a beautiful little downtown in Lexington, Tennessee, where Lynchburg, because they did Jack Daniels. And that was what they were known for, was Jack Daniels Distillery was there in Lynchburg, Tennessee. And they have this beautiful little quaint downtown, and they have a white gazebo right in the middle of it. And every Christmas, all of the townspeople dress up like Renaissance, and they have little carriages, and you go shopping downtown, and the carriage will take you from store to store.
Oh my gosh.
And they booked me and Ronnie Freeman and Leslie, his wife, to sing at the Christmas gazebo, the day in Lynchburg.
First mistake.
Christmas in Lynchburg. And they booked us. And the three of us were going to harmonize on, oh, the weather outside is frightful, whatever it was. And Ronnie started playing the keyboard for Away in a Manger. And I don't know if you're not a vocalist, then you don't know. But Away in a Manger can go pretty low. Yeah. And he said, all right, the next song we're going to sing, you're going to just bring it down just a little bit. Melissa, why don't you lead us in this? But he was playing it in his key.
Oh my God.
But the thing is, everybody is drinking their hot chocolate and they've stopped and they've turned and the little lights are twinkling. And I went, away in a manger, no crib for a husband. And I'm not kidding. It was that low. And Melba, I looked at him and tears are rolling down his face and he keeps playing, but he ducks his body underneath the keyboard, the electric keyboard. He's gone. There is no head. It's just hands. And I don't know what to do. I can't hit it. No crib for a So you go up an octave, right?
And that's too high.
And that's way too high. That is the hardest I've ever laughed during a song.
Oh my God.
Do you remember one particular?
We had so many.
I know a time, and it's in my book, Chicken Fried Women. I think it's in my book. I could be wrong. When you and I were singing at a New Year's Eve service, candlelight communion. And we both had candles, and I lit your words on fire.
Yes.
And she was singing the verse, and I just lit it right on fire. And she's continuing to sing like this, holding a candle, singing her words like this. It came upon a midnight clear, you stupid idiot, this glorious idiot. I mean,
well, it was nearly ash when we were finished.
And I was nearly ash when we finished.
No, you were I'm
sorry, what? Say again, what? We've only had one curse word on here ever on this show. This show is rated G. We've only had one curse word. That's from your daughter.
And she doesn't curse.
Okay. Anything else before we go?
Well, no, that's all I've got on my list.
I don't know why you made a list to just sit here. And
I'm surprised you didn't say anything about it because Meredith said you made fun of her because she had a list.
Well, she pulled up a list of 87 stories. I'm like, how long do you think this podcast is? I don't know why you make a list when this is literally just you and I sitting around talking. This is what our family sits around and talks about.
That's true. That's true.
Is there a story of me that you like? One that cracks you up? I've had all these people on to tell stories of funny things, and no one's ever mentioned me in their stories.
You're not too funny.
I'm hysterical. Can you think of one?
Well,
surely I've done something that's you found funny.
Well, catching my words on fire was pretty funny.
That was good.
Yeah.
What if I told you that wasn't an accident?
I'm sure it
was, though. It was.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Anything else?
Something funny about you.
A story.
Well, we have passed.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I taught you a lot of things when you were young.
Mm-hmm. Like what, Melba? Aunt Melba? What? I'll tell y'all. One time we was going to the lake.
We were going to the lake, and nothing's going to keep a country girl from going swimming at the lake.
But something was going to keep me. Something was. I was probably 14, 13, and I started that day. And I had only started my period. I had only had it a couple of times up until that point. And this was the, 1991. And so I'd wear these big old pads like they made back then. But we were going to the lake and I wanted to swim.
She was going to mess up our whole day. And I just couldn't have it.
Yeah. So she comes and she says, oh, no, you're not going to mess up.
I was outside the door first, trying to talk you through it.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to do.
And she kept saying, put your foot up on the toilet. That's not helping. So I come out of my bedroom, y'all, and she is laying in my floor with her legs. Imagine
You don't have to describe
if you killed a roach and then flipped it upside down. That's exactly what she looked like. And her legs were up in the air. And she this is what she said. Do you remember what you said?
Not really.
You said, you take your hand and you put it between your legs. She went like this. She went, do you think your hands will fit between your legs? She said, well, your arms aren't very long, but your body's kind of big. So your arms. I was like, okay, first of all, this is mortifying in so many ways, but you asking me.
And your mother wouldn't even come in that part of the house.
Absolutely not.
She was not going to talk about it.
And I literally thought to myself, okay, if I'm wearing what do you call it? Tampax every single time. I can't lay on a floor like a roach every single time I got to use a Tampax.
Well, that was just for your first time.
I wish y'all
I didn't want you to hurt yourself.
And she's, first of all, I'm not the only one built like a circle. This one is too. So she can barely get her arms between her legs. But yeah, she taught me how. I love that the fact that the story about me turned into a story about her. Oh my gosh. I love my Aunt Melba. I love her. She is always a good time. As my mother says, that Melba, she is always a good time. And she is. Hey, I'm so glad that y'all are here. Thank you for listening to the Chicken Fried Women podcast. Until next time. Thanks so much for being here today, where we get to talk about our friendships and our kinships and the stories that made us this way. Till next time.